Hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for one of our weekly AT&T question and answer sessions. If you're joining us today, you are likely AT&T Legacy, and we're going to be answering some of the most frequently asked questions we're getting from other Legacy employees about your pension. And we're going to be joined in just a moment by our advisor, Tyson Mavar. But before I bring Tyson on, I should first introduce myself. My name is Samantha. I'm in Client Services here at the Retirement Group, and I moderate these weekly webinars. Before Tyson comes on, I should also remind you that although we work very closely with both active and retired members of AT&T, the Retirement Group is not affiliated nor endorsed whatsoever by AT&T. We are a completely independent group of financial advisors. Throughout Tyson's presentation, I will be adding some very useful links into the chat. Please keep an eye on that chat. They will guide you to our LinkedIn, where you can view upcoming updates of upcoming AT&T focused webinars, as well as a link to our Education Center, where you can view all of our past webinar recordings that might have topics you may find of concern or interest. And the last link I will mention is a link to book an appointment with an advisor after Tyson's presentation, whether it be Tyson Mavar himself or another AT&T focused advisor. And with all of that boring stuff out of the way now, I'd like to just introduce you to our speaker today, Tyson Mavar. Hey, Tyson.
Thank you, Sam, for the introduction, and thank you folks for attending our webinar series today. My name is Tyson Mavar, one of the AT&T focused retirement advisors for the Retirement Group. And on today's webinar series, we're going to be covering pension information specific to Legacy T AT&T employees. So if you are not Legacy T, you may not get a ton of value out of today's Q&A session, because these are questions that we've received recently from some of our clients and prospective clients who are Legacy T employees on the ALM pension program specifically. So those of you who aren't as familiar with our company, the Retirement Group is an independent group of financial advisors that specializes in working with corporate employees in an effort to help folks plan for and transition successfully into retirement. We also manage retirement assets for corporate employees, and AT&T happens to be one of the companies whose employees we have relationships going back the longest with since we started our business back in the early 90s. So over 30 years now, we've been working with AT&T employees from all of the different legacy groups, both craft and management, all throughout the United States. And our hope is that whether or not you decide to become a client of ours, that we can add some value to your retirement strategy. So we can give you some ideas on things that you might want to consider prior to leaving AT&T. Make sure that you don't make any of the common mistakes in leaving AT&T. And we hope that if you decide to work with an advisory firm, at least you consider our firm, as we feel we have a pretty compelling story on why you might consider doing so. But there's certainly no obligation to do that if you take advantage of these webinars or some of the retirement plans that we put together on a complimentary basis for everybody that works at AT&T, whether or not you are yet a client. If you'd like to have us run your plan, we'll give you a way to get a hold of us at the end of today's webinar. Whether it's you have specific questions, you want to have a retirement plan put together, or if you'd like some of the other resources that we have, such as our webinar series online and some of the ebooks that we've put together for AT&T employees. A lot of great resources available to folks that are planning for their retirement at AT&T that I strongly encourage you to take advantage of. So today we're going to go over some of the questions that we've received recently from our Legacy T AT&T employees, clients and prospective clients that we thought were thoughtful questions that we wanted to add on today's webinar series. Question one, I'm under the ALM plan, so ATT Legacy Management is what that stands for. When is the last day to leave Legacy AT&T and still take advantage of the current interest rates? So this is a very good question because timing is very critical. As many of you know, that your lump sum is a function of current interest rates. And AT&T changes those interest rates annually. Every year on January 1st, they change which rates are used to calculate your lump sum. And those rates are good for 12 months. The rate that is used, however, is the November of the prior year. And interestingly enough, the ATT Legacy Management Program, the ALM pension, has a rule where you have to commence your benefit on the first day of the month. It could be any month, and it has to be after your retirement. You can't commence your pension, of course, before you retire. As a result of this, if you were to retire in December, the first available benefit commencement date would be January 1st of the following year. And as a result of this, in order to get this year's lump sum interest rates, you would need to retire by November 30th or earlier, of course, in an effort to have a December 1st commencement date and to keep this year's lump sum interest rates. This is probably why you may have seen some of your coworkers retiring in November or earlier than the end of the year, which is not the case for everybody at AT&T. I have clients that are legacy SBC or legacy S, as they call it. And those folks have the ability to commence their benefit the day after their retirement. It doesn't necessarily have to be the first, but for legacy T employees, it has to be the first of the month. So to use this year's interest rates for calculating your lump sum, you need to have retired by November 30th to get this year's interest rates. Question 2, how will inflation interest rates how will inflation and interest rates affect my pension if I choose the annuity? Well, it depends on which pension you're on. And some of the pensions, the default payment option is a lump sum, and the company has to use current interest rates and your life expectancy to calculate the annuity. That's not most pensions. Most pensions, it's the opposite, where the default payment method is the annuity, and when interest rates change, it'll change your lump sum. But for most of the cash balance program plans, which does not include the legacy management plan, by the way, the annuity is going to have an inverse relationship with interest rates. For legacy AT&T employees, inflation is going to have an impact only in the sense that when interest rates are high and inflation is high, if you take the annuity, your annuity is going to get less valuable at an even faster rate over time. So inflation becomes a big risk of taking the annuity, whether legacy T or not. But when interest rates change, it's not going to immediately affect the annuity value of your pension option. So many of you know there's a variety of different annuity options. You can take single life, joint survivor. These aren't going to be immediately affected by a change in the corporate bond interest rates that do in fact change the value of your lump sum. But there is some impact and over the long run on what inflation is going to do to your purchasing power. And this is something that we spend a lot of time talking about when we run these cash flow projections for our folks that are preparing for retirement, so that we can assess all of the risks of the various decisions that you have as you approach retirement. This is certainly one of them. Question 3, I was craft for 11 years and management for 12. I'm 57 years old. Does the interest rate affect only part of my pension, or does it affect the whole thing? This is a really good question. Some folks that have both craft and management time will have just one pension. Depending on when you converted to management, they may have harmonized your plans or molded them into one pension plan. Although there's many clients that we have that have 2 and in some cases 3 pensions with AT&T, believe it or not. And each one of these plans is affected differently by interest rates. Now for legacy T management employee, this is going to affect both of your plans. So if interest rates go up, you're going to see a reduction in the value of both of your lump sums if you have 2 pensions. Now, it could be a situation where you have an old craft, one of the regional plans, and one of those plans, the Bell South plan, actually is a cash balance plan that is not affected by interest rates. In other words, the lump sum doesn't go down when interest rates go up. So that would be a very unique situation, and would be pretty rare that I would see somebody go from Bell South to Legacy T and have those 2 pensions. In fact, I've never seen that. Of the thousands of people that I've talked to at AT&T, that would be the only instance. In every other case for legacy management folks, increased interest rates is going to have a negative impact on both the active ALM plan if you're management and the old craft plan. But we definitely want to take a look at that old craft plan because there's many different ones before we said for sure. Knowing all the different plans, we could tell you pretty quickly after we looked at your pension projections which ones you need to worry about. Even though that craft plan is not accruing benefits, they're not adding years of service to it, it is still subject to both age penalties, potential age penalties, and fluctuations in interest rates that affect the lump sum. So keep that in mind. Question 4, I want to leave but not fully retire in 2024 when my kids get out of college. I'm staying because no one will pay me what I make at AT&T. Are you suggesting it may make sense to consider leaving this year and get another lower paying job now? Well, this is a really good question. It all comes down to your cash flow analysis. There's far too many variables to say with only this amount of information, what's best for this individual, retire now or keep working at AT&T. How much is the next job offering you? And is that offsetting the change in your pension, whether it's dropping, which we don't even know yet, by the way. Here we are in the middle of 2023. And although rates actually went down at the beginning of this year, they started to come up throughout the summer, and they're almost exactly where they were in November of last year. So my guess is if rates stay flat, folks won't see much of an increase or decrease in their lump sum next year, but we still have a few months until November, in which case we will know the interest rates and what the impact is going to be on the lump sum. The best advice I would have to this person is have us run your cash flow analysis. We'll look at all of the different variables, such as what you're leaving on the table at AT&T by leaving other than just the salary. What's some of the benefits of leaving now? And one of those being getting access to your lump sum earlier or the annuity earlier, depending on which way you're planning on taking your pension. And of course, the detriment of leaving now versus later, biggest one being maybe a lower salary, it looks like in this person's case, but also some potential accrual in the benefits, especially the pension. We have to look at all the variables to say for sure, and we do that by running the cash flow analysis. Question 5, I keep hearing about a grandfathered AT&T pension plan. How can I find out if I'm grandfathered or not? The grandfather plan was an old plan that has been frozen. And for many employees at AT&T that have either moved during their career or maybe moved from a different company, a merged company, it's possible you have multiple pension plans within your AT&T legacy management plan. The way that you would find out is by running a detailed calculation on your pension projection, and you could do that through the net benefits website by running a normal or a simple projection through the estimate tab. And then once that projection comes up, there's a link that says view detailed calculations, which will populate a PDF. It's several pages long, and it's going to show you if, in fact, you do have multiple pension plans, and as a result, what the winning pension plan produces as your best payout. The company has to give you the best of all of these different payouts. And usually it's all the same plan. It's the one that's active right now that you're contributing to. A lot of these older plans aren't producing as high of a lump sum or annuity anymore because they were frozen years and years ago. But that is how you would know whether or not you have the grandfathered plan, and also whether or not you have some of the other plans, the ATB, the SATB. There's many different plans that are frozen now that may be a component of your calculation, and that's how you'd find out is in the view calculation details link in your pension projection tool within the net benefits website. Question 6, I am with Legacy ATT. Do I have to take my pension right after retirement? Not necessarily, depends on your age. AT&T, on all these plans, the normal retirement age is age 65. And if you work past 65, chances are you will not have the opportunity to defer your pension payment. If you retire prior to age 65, you can defer the election of your pension until age 65, the normal retirement age. A reason for that could be because you still have age penalties. So and the way we would want to look at this is by running multiple pension projections with different benefit commencement dates, but with the same assumed retirement date. And this is the best way to figure out how much your pension is growing if you leave it at AT&T after you leave the company, knowing that you can leave it there as long as age 65. There is another exception other than somebody who works past age 65. There's several of the plans that give you a 90-day window of taking the lump sum. And if you don't take it within the first 90 days of retiring, then you're forced into the annuity option at some later date. So all of these things would be good things to know for your particular case prior to doing nothing, which is what I see a lot of people do, is just defer the decision, let the dust settle from their retirement and figure out what their next chapter is going to look like. Not always the best thing to do, though, because some of these pensions have deadlines in which you can take the lump sum or even take your pension that you want to be aware of. So answer to this is it depends, and call us and we'll help you run some projections to determine in your situation how long, if at all, you can defer the decision on how to take your pension and when to take your pension. The best advice we have, run the cash flow analysis. This will get you some of our time in running that projection. We will go through it with you. We will give you our best opinion on things that are relevant to you and your situation after looking at which pension plan you're on, knowing a little bit more about your goals in retirement, your family, your aspirations to work or not work after AT&T. We need to know more information before we could start to whittle down what is the best course of action to give you the highest probability of success in retirement. So have us run that. It's a free service. All we ask is if you get some value in doing that exercise with us, maybe help us grow our business by referring some of your coworkers to us as well. And if you'd like to schedule that meeting, there's a variety of ways you could do that, and I'll give them to you in just a moment. But I wanted to share this statistic with everybody. 74% of Americans over the age of 50 don't even have a written plan for their retirement, which is absolutely unacceptable as far as we're concerned. We see another statistic that's not on here, but we've seen that people spend more time planning their vacations than they do their own retirement. Think of retirement as maybe the longest vacation of your life. Take a few minutes to put some effort into how you're going to do this, when you're going to do this, and the importance of retirement to you, which is different for everybody. We've tried to make ourselves available, especially in crazy years like this year where the company is moving people to different areas of the country, forcing them to make a decision, putting people back in the office rather than being able to work from home. If you're willing to spend some time with us, we're happy to spend some time with you to help you at least verify that you're doing the things that you should be to not have any regrets with regards to your money when you get to retirement. If you'd like to schedule a meeting with us or just have some questions you'd like to ask, you can email us at info@theretirementgroup.com. You can also take a picture of this QR code if you have a smartphone, and it will take you to a place where you can schedule a meeting with either myself or one of my colleagues that understand the AT&T benefits plans and the retirement strategies that we'd like to communicate to you. And then there's also a QR code for our LinkedIn page where we publish these webinars, many of them specific to the different AT&T retirement benefits and strategies, and some of them just generic retirement planning strategies that we found useful to people at AT&T as well as other companies. Let us know how we can help folks. If you'd like to spend a few minutes, whether it's on the phone, via web meeting, or even an in-person meeting, just let us know and we'll do the best that we can to make that a valuable investment of your time. With that, we're going to wrap it up for today. Everybody have a good, safe rest of the week, and we hope to talk to you all very soon.